Hello Assassins, Gargudon here, and welcome to Rally the Creed, which we are rebooting here on The Ones Who Came Before. It was originally a podcast started by our site managers, Cole and Ash, but we are now reviving it. So, this podcast is all about community. It's about the individual community member, how they got into Assassin's Creed, what they like, what they don't like about it, their journey in the Assassin's Creed community, and so much more. And for this episode, we have got a recurring guest on, amongst other things, the Memory Corridor, my friend Mr. Kyle Marvell. How are you today?
Hello, mate. I love the way you said my full name.
No worries. So I'm glad to have Kyle here, and we're just going to talk a bit about his journey with Assassin's Creed. And let's just take it from the beginning, really. How did you get into Assassin's Creed way back in the day, whenever that was, and what was it that got you into it?
So I remember the autumn leading up to, towards the end of 2007, I see a Assassin's Creed trailer. It was the UK spot trailer. I think it's on YouTube. You might be able to find it.
Yeah.
And I was just like sort of mesmerised by the trailer, jumping into the haystack. Just the overall feel of it, and I was like, I've got to play that game.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting it and loved it. Although I felt it was quite repetitive, the original, I loved it. Eventually finished it, and I was a fan from there. And then, obviously, Assassin's Creed 2 come out with Ezio. And
2 years later, 2009.
Yeah, and ever since then I've been a massive fan.
So you've really been there since day one, which is the case, I feel like, for quite a few people again.
I think so.
Throughout the community.
It doesn't matter when you joined, but it's quite special to know that I was there from the beginning.
Of course not. And if anything, that just, you've been there since the beginning. You've really embraced the original roots and everything, which I guess makes you more nostalgic for the earlier games and the early formula.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Like, I remember I think it was my first job. I was working up London, just listening to the Assassin's Creed soundtrack. My 50-minute journey to London, I just get the feels. Even though that was a commute, I just loved my commute when I was listening to that music.
Yeah. Oh no, riding on the train sometimes is just fun. Just sitting there, looking outside the window, listening to the music or whatever.
The soundtrack made it better.
Definitely, but you've been there since the beginning, which is awesome. So you say it was just kind of randomly catching this spot for Assassin's Creed that piqued your interest, and then you tried the actual game, and then after that there was no return.
Yeah, exactly. Although the first one, like I said earlier, was a bit repetitive, wasn't it? So it took me a little bit of time to finish it. First one.
Yeah.
If I hadn't have gone back onto it, maybe I wouldn't have carried on playing the games, because if you remember, there wasn't there in the first game, there's a bit where you've got to try and find people over talking.
So I've heard. The funny thing is that the original Assassin's Creed game, is the only one of the older games that I've actually still have never played.
Yeah, so I believe there was a bit that I got stuck on where I just couldn't find the two people talking for some reason.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm not going to play this.
Almost rage quitting. Yeah. So you've been there since day one, and then you say in the early 10s, late 00s, when Assassin's Creed just was taken to a whole new level with AC2 and the Ezio trilogy. Everything, your love for the whole thing also just became much bigger, I assume.
Certainly did. It got to the point where it's all I was thinking about.
Assassin's Creed, yeah.
It got a bit unhealthy, I think, at one point.
Definitely, but that's the thing about Assassin's Creed, is that once you really get caught in the grandeur of it and all the storytelling, it really does become, a universe, a fictional universe that you just love and you think about all the time. I definitely remember that myself from when I got into AC, thinking about what could be like fan fictions and stuff, or custom stories.
Because back in the day, the story really felt like it was going somewhere, the overarching narrative.
Yeah.
That's what drew me to it. It was like, what's that going to happen next? And because the games were released every year, which obviously has ended up hurting the franchise. Back then, I loved the fact that it was every year. I was like, can't wait for the fall, can't wait for the autumn. I'll be playing it.
I imagine a part of that was also this cliffhanger. Did you ever feel that, as especially modern day wise, with the Desmond saga and everything was leading towards the infamous 2012 apocalypse? I imagine that must have been something that kind of kept you hooked as well, was seeing where does this go in the next game, where does this go now?
Exactly, and that 2012 thing was quite a big thing in real life, wasn't it?
It definitely was. That's 10 years ago this Christmas. You just dawned on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really a thing people thought was going to happen, so it kind of tied in nicely, didn't it?
It definitely did. Yeah. And then Assassin's Creed 3 also came out in 2012, like 2 months before the whole thing.
Yeah, and I was like, surely Desmond's going to save the world.
Yeah.
And he did. And although I must admit, I wasn't the biggest fan of Assassin's Creed 3 the first time I played it, but I am now.
Assassin's Creed 3 is a good game. Definitely, I do like the story, and in some ways I think it does get too much hate, but then again, there are parts of it which could have been stronger, that's for sure.
I agree, like, Connor wasn't the greatest protagonist, but you understand why he's like that, you understand his struggle. So,
if anything, I've always thought that Connor is a character who has a lot of potential for a sequel. And also, I can't remember if the two of us have talked about that before, but also with everything else, that ties into the North American era, with Assassin's Creed Rogue as well, and Assassin's Creed Liberation.
Yeah, it ties in pretty well.
It really is.
I guess. Would have been nice.
I guess you could say that North America is the only location in the world which has so many games set in one place.
Oh yeah, all the GTA games and that.
Yeah, and I've always said that I would have loved to see, I've seen like an older Shay and an older Connor face off, like in the years after Assassin's Creed 3 or something.
That definitely disappointed me, that those two games being released. I know we skipped over Black Flag, but Black Flag, we've spoke about that quite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, those Rogue and Unity just didn't deliver, did it? They weren't connected properly.
I've always said that Rogue, for what it did, it achieved quite a lot, and Rogue is another one of my favourite AC titles in general. I love the story, I love Shay's character, I love the world, exploring the world and stuff, so yeah.
But do you think that Shay should have been in Unity? I think so.
Not necessarily in Unity, but there could have been potential for like an older Shay in let's say, as I said, a story set in the years after Assassin's Creed 3. But let's not get lost in that, maybe. I wanted to hear a bit... yeah, no worries. I wanted to hear a bit more about, now that we kind of know how you got into Assassin's Creed and stuff, how did you find your way into Assassin's Creed Online and, the Assassin's Creed Online community? When was that, and how did it come about?
Well, that's quite an interesting one, because it wasn't until pretty late, because I remember following loads of people back in the day, like 2008, 2009, on Twitter, loads of Assassin's Creed people, or people talking about Assassin's Creed, but then I don't know if they just deleted their Twitter or I unfollowed them, but nothing really happened there until like early 2017, where I started to get into the community more, talking to people, discussing Assassin's Creed on Twitter and whatnot.
And that was just like regular interest, tweeting about Assassin's Creed, that way maybe kind of randomly connecting with others and stuff?
Yeah, definitely, because obviously that was the year Origins was released.
2017,
there was a lot of hype around that, but it was early 2017.
So that was kind of like where you started getting in touch with other people, and was that around the same time that maybe you felt inspired to kind of become an AC content creator on YouTube?
I definitely remember thinking about that, but I thought it was too late. I should have done it before, so I didn't start doing that until 2019.
Oh, right. Yeah. So for a long time, it was just those 2 years, kind of just building a network. really just all for the fun of it?
Pretty much.
Until you were just at that point, like, it could be fun to actually make some content about this.
Yeah, I thought it's now or never. I've got to at least try it, because I knew if I didn't try it, I'd regret it.
Did starting it that late in 2019, did that like affect what could have been if maybe, let's say, you had started earlier or something? Maybe also given the current state of Assassin's Creed and the community at that point? Because I assume that if you've been around since day one in 2007, like, the community must just have looked so, and everything about Assassin's Creed must have looked so different there compared to 12 years earlier.
Yeah, it wasn't really a community back then. Like I said, 2008 or whatever it was, I followed a few people, that's about it.
Definitely. And then again, like, that's just, it's kind of wild with Assassin's Creed. You know, it started off there in 2007 when social media and the internet and stuff was nowhere near, nowhere near as big as it is now, which is maybe a part of it as well.
Yeah, now you mention it, I think I didn't join Twitter until 2009, I think. So that's the earliest I could have got involved with the community, 2009, following people and that.
That makes me
there weren't that many.
That makes me curious, actually, as to like the early stages of the community. How was it there in like late 2009? Like, I imagine it must have been on a much smaller scale than it is now. Like, was it much more just talking about Assassin's Creed back and forth? Or was there also a certain level of content creators involved? Kind of like there is now.
Yeah, I don't remember any content creators. I just remember me and a few other people typing in "I'm an assassin" when the launch day came.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember much.
Nice one.
That's as far as it went, I think.
So yeah, but as I asked there, do you feel like in any way like that becoming a content creator yourself that late, like, affected content that you maybe would have otherwise liked to make?
I believe so. Like, if I was a content creator back then,
maybe
I could have made so many videos on it. I would have loved it.
Maybe even could have been mid-10s. It doesn't have to be like that early on, I guess, considering the state of AC in like the mid-10s.
Even then, yeah, like Unity, Rogue, Syndicate.
Yeah.
And there was a year gap. Yeah, I would have loved to be a content creator then, because there's so many theories I could have put out, or even tribute videos. I made a load of them. Yeah, I do wish I started sooner.
Definitely.
But everything happens for a reason, I guess.
I guess. And that kind of makes me curious. Like, even if you do make like Assassin's Creed content now, do you feel like it's about an era of Assassin's Creed you're less enthusiastic about?
100%. Yeah, to be honest, I've only made 4 Assassin's Creed videos this year.
Yeah.
I would love to make more, but it's
just
get
more
up and go
gaming
sort of thing.
In general.
Yeah, I make a lot of videos on Horizon and some Nintendo games, but
yeah.
I don't want to do more Assassin's Creed videos. It's just that with Odyssey and Valhalla, I just don't feel inspired to as much.
Yeah.
I tried to with Valhalla, because it was my first AC game that got released when I was a content creator. I've done quite a lot of tributes, which I've had to delete. But,
oh yeah.
I can't make theory videos. I want to, can't, or what if videos.
Right.
But we'll see what happens next, I guess.
Right. So that's another thing. Like, with given, as I said, you are like a day one fan. What is your maybe also with that in mind? What is your take on like then the current state of the Assassin's Creed community and as I said before, like, how has being there since day one does it add anything to seeing the state of everything now? Because you could like be a new fan and come into Assassin's Creed now and have this more neutral view of things, I guess.
I think a lot's happened with the Assassin's Creed community even before I was a big part of it. I think there's a lot of disagreements, let's put it that way, isn't there? Because there's fans that have been with the series for like, 15 years now.
Definitely,
And
there are a lot of those. Typically, maybe slightly older fans and stuff. But there are still definitely a lot of those around.
And there's obviously people who have come during the RPG era.
There's definitely a lot of them as well.
So I wouldn't say. Go on, sorry.
But have you seen yourself like kind of? Maybe you have already answered it a bit, but have you seen yourself falling out of everything a bit with the changes that has come to the franchise and stuff?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, I always love the older Assassin's Creed games, but I have slightly fallen out of love with it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, I guess. But you'll always hold on to the nostalgic days, and will always have a soft spot for that. The early days of everything.
Exactly, I'll never forget them. Like I said earlier, it's all I used to think
that,
about.
That in general, that does perhaps happen with a lot of fandoms and a lot of eras of a certain franchise or something. I don't know how much you are into that, but another great example of that is perhaps the Marvel Cinematic Universe, actually.
Oh my god, that's a perfect example.
Because I haven't been there since day one, but I've been there since Avengers 1, which, was such a massive landmark for not only that universe, but for the film industry as well, for the whole superhero movie genre, which 10 years ago was still such a new thing. But I am not going to lie, Endgame is so massively overrated. I'm honestly not that big on that film, and everything to come out since has just been very mid, and I'm definitely not the fan of a franchise like that the way I used to be 10 years ago.
Endgame should have been the last film.
Yeah.
They should have had a break.
Like if there had actually been an end in Endgame, maybe it would have worked. I also just remember it was a lot of the narrative stuff I would have liked to play out differently. And in general, everything just peaked at Infinity War. That film is still an absolute masterpiece in my book.
A lot of people do say that.
Yeah.
But don't you agree that there should have been a break after Endgame and then maybe 5 or 6 years, then start another sort of phase?
Maybe. In general, I guess I would have just liked something like Endgame to play out differently. I had honestly hoped for a film more along the lines of, if you've ever seen that one, Days of Future Past, the X-Men.
I don't think so, no.
Oh, great film. I just hoped for time travel wise something more along the lines of that, which would have taken a few more risks and stuff. But yeah, you can't satisfy everyone, I guess. But I guess something like the MCU there is another great example of how fandoms can just, and nostalgia can just change. When the enthusiasm for stuff can change. Like, I'm not that enthusiastic about the current state, but I'll always have a real soft spot for the beginning, kind of like you do with old Assassin's Creed, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. Fatigue can seep in and the quality can lower. I'm not necessarily saying the quality's lower in Assassin's Creed. It is what it is. They're big RPGs. A lot of people like them.
Definitely.
I like RPGs. I like JRPGs, but I think the RPGs are a bit too bloated.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed at the minute.
Probably is. Maybe not. But finally, I guess I also wanted to, now that we kind of know how you got into the franchise itself, the community and stuff, where do you see your own passion for Assassin's Creed and the community? How do you see all that going forward?
My passion, like I said, has lowered, but if there's a Assassin's Creed game that does stealth and parkour properly, it will be ignited again. So I'm hopeful, sort of expect the worst, hope for the best sort of thing. But I believe it could be great again if they make a smaller game.
Make Assassin's Creed great again. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like you'll always your current view on the current state of Assassin's Creed won't change, but you do have hopes up that everything can be redeemed, it can become great again, and then there's always the nostalgia which will count for something.
That sums it up perfectly, I think. Yeah.
And also the community. Where do you see that going forward?
I think the community is great. Like when you see all the art, the videos.
Definitely. I mean, if anything, the community keeps expanding, and there's always new people coming into it. Every game, every era of Assassin's Creed drags a new group of fans into the whole thing.
That's right, yeah. And Assassin's Creed fans can be so talented when you see all the stuff on Twitter.
Definitely, there's always new everything from artists to cosplayers coming along, which I guess at the end of the day, would you say that is kind of like a key aspect of fan creations nowadays? Apropos what I talked about with you becoming a content creator, because is that perhaps something that has slowed down in recent years?
How do you mean, the amount of content?
Or the amount of like video, like Assassin's Creed YouTubers and stuff. Is that an aspect of fan creations that has slowed down as opposed to art and cosplay and other media like that?
Possibly, because there is a couple of big AC content creators that sort of stopped making AC content.
There definitely are, but and a lot of what I guess you and me know as Assassin's Creed YouTubers, they've been around for a long time now, and they've slowed down as well. But you're definitely right that that there are a lot of passionate Assassin's Creed fans, and I don't know about you, but I only see the community growing. Would you say that as well?
I believe so, yeah, overall.
Definitely, because
growing. Obviously there is some divisiveness between older and newer fans, or even fans that joined at any point. There is some divisiveness, which isn't great at times, but you know, that's gaming in general as well, isn't it?
Of course. And also with events like AC15 this year, which I don't know is maybe bound to take everything into the next phase and stuff. So
apparently that's there's a reason they're doing this, because I did question that they didn't do anything like this for the 10th anniversary. Did they all count it down all the games? That seems like a bigger anniversary than the 15th, but apparently there's a reason. We'll find out.
Perhaps. All right. Other than that, like, do you feel like there's anything else anything else remarkable on your AC journey that kind of like struck your memory?
The Assassin's Creed Symphony in London in 2019 was amazing. That was brilliant.
That is, I do remember you went to that, and I guess that kind of makes me think of like, how just for you personally, like everything gaming and such aside, like being part of the Assassin's Creed community and stuff just made your life better? Like, do you feel like it's done that? Just overall?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. Because you're sharing a passion, aren't you?
Yeah, like
it's to share a passion.
Like, I guess if it hadn't been for Assassin's Creed, you wouldn't have found an experience like that and stuff, and also, something like the Mentors Guild and stuff.
Yeah, which is a shame that's disbanded, but
of course,
a few of us going over to the Star Player,
which is unfortunate. But just being part of a program like that, I guess, is things like that Assassin's Creed has made you a part of.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm very lucky to be a part of that and going on to the Star Player.
Definitely.
Just to sort of interact with fans on the Discord.
Definitely, it all.
And the presentations and that, yeah, it's been great.
It all looks very awesome, and you're definitely the right person for it. So, yeah. All right, but other than that, I feel like you and me have had a great talk. It's been good to get to know a little more about your way into everything.
Thank you, Ben. been a pleasure again.
Yeah, and we're glad to have you here in the community and on these shows fairly often. So, yeah, definitely don't see that changing. All right, but with that, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Rally the Creed. As said, we are looking to reboot the show here on The Ones Who Came Before, so expect more episodes like this one in the near future, focusing on community and its members. Other than that, thanks for listening, everyone. See you all for the next episodes, and until those come out, stay safe, everyone, and keep the community what it is. Peace.